One D&D is trending again because isn't it nice of us that we're giving all this free shelf space to Wizards of the Coast by continuing to talk about it, because we're talking about representation still, again, because of the whole Space Monkey things and the Githyanki things and the Hippo thing and how I never saw myself as the hero in a game till now. We're going to talk about that Manic Pixie Dream Girl soon, but right now we're going to talk about the changes in One D&D because, yeah, we're still talking about it, which is, of course, exactly what Wizards of the Coast wants. But OGGM, you're talking about it. Yeah, well, that's kind of my job, you know? All right, so somebody went and made a nice list of us of all the things the One D&D playtest has changed. Because despite the fact it's backwards compatible, they've changed everything. Where's the camera? We want to see the kitten. I told you, the kitten's hiding underneath the couch because it's so hot. So I don't even feel like turning the camera on because that's one less fan that I would have running. So yeah, no camera. Plus, DM James thinks I'm doing this in my underwear. So I want to keep him thinking that. Why did I say that? That was weird. Okay, yeah, number 10, spell lists have been reorganized. One of the many things I have no problem with. I never understood why, like, warlocks, sorcerers, wizards had separate spell lists. 99.9% all the spells were the same. Sure, there were some token spells that the warlock had that nobody else had, like Eldritch Blast, but then warlock doesn't make any sense to me anyway. That's a whole separate thing. But yeah. So now, if you are an arcane caster, you just have the one list. You have all the arcane caster cantrips, spells, blam, all on one list. It's called arcane. Then we have the divine list. That's for all your types who get their powers from a divine source, be it gods or whatever. So that's your clerics, and well, I guess paladins get a few spells. But mainly your clerics, you know, your holy types, your divine types. Sure, paladins get a few spells, but do they really get enough that it really matters? I mean, 9 out of 10 times your paladin's going to use his spells for charges for his holy smite anyways, so... But yeah, they get pulls. Who else pulls from the divine list besides clerics and paladins? That's pretty much it. And then now we have the new primal list. And primal is for, like, your druids and your rangers. And these are, like, your nature-y spells. Now, I'd go one further. I would say get rid of primal and just have arcane and divine. Because aren't the primal energies still also sort of technically divine energies? I mean, you're drawing your spells from an external source that is beyond our comprehension, be it God or elemental or nature or what have you. We have the arcane spells, which are all like, oh, this is the magic we understand. We've broken this down. We've got the formulas, you know. Okay, there's these sorcerers who can do it without any training, and we still don't really understand how that works. But whatever, there's still, I cast a fireball, and that sorcerer casts a fireball. We're both casting fireball, and we both kind of know how fireball works. Clerics are like, you know, and druids are like, I don't know, man. I just like, you know, pray, I plant some trees, I sprinkle some holy water, and then suddenly I know how to make a wall out of stone. Physics, engineering, nope, I just say wall, and it appears. I don't know how it works, man. I don't question it. So I think there should be 2 lists. So yeah. Sub-races have been replaced with lineages. Now, I don't know what they were called. Were they called sub-races? I guess they were called, they're called sub-races or just subdivisions or whatever. I mean, your lineage, so you're an elf, but your lineage is snow elf or whatever. This is to address the whole racism thing, because by calling something a race, like the elven race or the human race or the vampire race or the lizard race, it's racist. By referring to yourself as a member of the human race is racist. So we're getting rid of that. Instead, you're a member of the human lineage or the elvish lineage. or the lizard lineage. Just so because the word race is racist, right? So that's why they got rid of it, because apparently people were offended by science. Do I have a problem with that? I don't think it makes a difference. I don't, people are still going to call elf. What race is your character? He's an elf. Conditions have changed. Why? So they have blinded, charmed, deafened. They've changed them. Why? Because people felt that if a character was affected by all these things, their agency in the game was diminished. If a player couldn't do anything for even 5 seconds at the table, that player felt their character was endangered. You ruined my agency. If I'm held for a round, it's a round I can't do anything, and that's so they changed it. They made it much more. I can talk. Yeah, they made it much more clear and defined and everything like that, and they got rid of a lot of the conditions, and they fixed grappling, though, and incapacitated. Look, the sidebar, take everything away else from Pathfinder. The fact that Pathfinder turned hand-to-hand combat, martial arts, all that confusing stuff into a stat will always put Pathfinder, as far as I'm concerned, above and beyond anybody else. Simply because they were smart enough to go, let's just make it a stat, okay? Just roll your martial arts. Higher the better. Bam. Lower the better. Boom. Just make it a stat. Miss all this other, we don't have to mess around with this other stuff, okay? Bam. Just make it a stat. So that's what Pathfinder did, and I love that. Redefining and making more specific exactly what you can and cannot do during being incapacitated or blind or charmed. Sure, I'm fine with that because we're always confused by it. But as for putting it so it doesn't actually affect anybody, oh, no, I'm blinded, but that's okay because my character isn't actually affected in any way, then yeah, no, I'm against that. If you're held, you're held. But defining exactly what you can and cannot do when you're held, sure. Yeah, a lot of people have confusion about that, so yeah, sure. Sign language is officially part of the core rules. I didn't know it wasn't. I mean, and why is this important? Except, of course, because of the whole representation thing. So, people are like, I want to be represented in the game. And there's people who use sign language. And so, therefore, if there's people who use sign language in real life, then there should be people who use sign language or some form of sign language in the game. And if I want to be special and my character uses sign language, so Wizards of the Coast was like, okay, I mean, technically, we never said it wasn't there. But now, specifically, here you go. You can have sign language as a language your character learns. And what happened when they said that? People complained. How dare you make sign language an official part of the core rules? Knowing sign language made my character special, made me special. Now the fact that anybody can know sign language doesn't make me special anymore. And as somebody who, the person who's people are complaining is like, I don't actually know death. I'm not actually death. But I know some deaf people, and I'm offended that my character knows sign language, but now anybody else can know sign language. Knowing sign language made me special, but now anybody can know it? That makes me not special anymore. Only people who know sign language are special. You realize that you can learn sign language at most community colleges, right? I took sign language. But yeah, so they made sign language a core language you can use. I have no problem with that. Who cares? Really, I mean, who cares? I want my character to know sign language. Fine. If you can know thieves can't and talk to birds, why can't you know sign language? But people are like, oh, I'm not special anymore. There are new core races. There's only one new core race, the Ardeling, which is dumb. We had tieflings, half demon. Asmir, half angel. Fine. They changed it. I don't know if Asmir are gone now and replaced by these Ardelings, but I think it's stupid. Why do they have the Ardelings? Because people want to role play as animals. And they thought, oh, yeah, well, if we make a race that by their divine heritage can have the head of a cow or a duck or whatever, that'll allow people to role play animals. Because we know people really love the turtle race and the cat race and the bunny race. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a turtle be played at the game. None. And the cat race? None. The hare race, the bunny race, none. Owl race, none. You know, nobody is playing these races. Tiefling still gets played a lot, but that's it, you know. I'm sure maybe somebody out there is playing the hippos or whatever because the hippos represent me because I'm big. That's the stupidest thing I've heard. But yeah, why get rid of the Asmir, which are already established, and replace them with basically the exact same thing, except now they have the head of an animal. The Arderling are just Asmirs, but now they have the head of an animal. Same thing. Okay, so that was stupid. And what is the fate of the Asmir? I don't know. Are they still around? Are they gone? Are we going to see them in an expansion? Do they show up in Planescape? I don't know. Feats have been revamped. Oh, yeah. Plenty of people have gone off on how the feats still make no fucking sense. Some of them are utterly pointless, while others are utterly broken. And really, there's absolutely no reason for me not to take the urchin background and be a halfling. The amount of halflings with the urchin background is going to be amazing. Just so many people are going to be like, I'm an urchin and I'm a halfling, so I have super double luck. Feats were confusing enough. You made them more confusing in an attempt to streamline them. Going to your job for a couple months before you go off adventuring somehow gets you a feat. I don't understand that at all. How did I working as a blacksmith apprentice for a year suddenly gain alertness? Yeah. There's probably a better way to do it, feats, than they're doing it now. I can't think of one. I think it should be a choice like it is now. You can take a stat bonus or a feat. You know, everybody gets a free feat at first level. Okay, I guess you could take a racial feat that allows you to have something your race had before, or you could sacrifice that for something else, you know. But like just having a feat that gives you 2 extra skills, that is just an utter waste. Just build extra skills into the character class. And just get rid of any feat that gives you, oh, I took the musician feat, so I know 2 extra musician type skills. No, get rid of those. Just get rid of those. Just put it in, you know, you add 2 extra skills to every class or every background, or just say, you know, once every 4 levels, you get to pick a new skill. I don't know. Players can build their own backgrounds. Yes, players can build their own backgrounds now. The backgrounds in the One DnD playtest are only suggested backgrounds. The backgrounds can now be designed on your own. They give you a step-by-step building block of how to build your own backgrounds, and then they want to encourage you to have your own backgrounds as long as it doesn't break the step-by-step. It's got to have this, it's got to have this, it's got to have this, and if it has all these, you can build your own. And this is a brand new mechanic. We are going to allow you to have your own backgrounds. Make them up. Or the DM can make them up. Except, of course, it's not a brand new mechanic. It's literally been in the game since day 1. Campaign-specific backgrounds, rules for making up your own backgrounds, they're already there. So Wizards of the Coast saying, oh, we're introducing this new rule so everybody can be represented and have the background that best fits their character design. You know what? You could always have that. It's always been there. Half-orcs and half-elves have been fundamentally changed because they're gone. Half-elves and half-orcs are gone. There's very weird, nebulous thing about how you can build, I don't know what to call them now, half people. Racially makes, I don't know what to call them without sounding racist. I don't know. You know, but basically here's this mechanic where if your mom is X and your dad was Y and they got together and they hooked up and they had you can pick a couple things from X and a couple things from Y to make you. And now here you are. And you're unique to you. There's no other half people just like you. And so they put this thing out, and remember, it's play tested, so it's still being written and still being modified. So whatever we see now and whatever we see a year from now will be completely different. But people were offended by this. People were upset about this racial mixing and this multicultural idea of multicultural families and stuff like that. This is offensive. This is racist. This is eugenics. How dare you put in something that allows me to build my own race? This is exactly what you said you wanted. Wizards of the Coast is doing it the best they can, and you're complaining. Wizards of the Coast are going to complain no matter what you do. So we have children's of different humanoid kinds, I guess there's what they're called now. And they give you the things, And then, people are upset about that. Ability score improvement has changed. Now your profession gives you ability score improvements instead of your race. So no matter what you are, when you come out of the factory ready to go, you don't get that +2 to dexterity anymore. Now it's a part of your skill. Now Tasha said you could put the improvements anywhere you want. So if you play an elf who normally got +2 to dexterity or whatever, now you can play an elf and put that +2 whatever you want. But Wizards have changed it again. You don't get any bonuses by picking a specific race. There's no difference between an elf and a hobbit or whatever other than infravision and stuff like that, which I'm sure they'll change too, because people are going to go, how come he can have infravision and I can't? So now your job gives you skill bonuses, which any of the physical skill bonuses I can completely understand. If I've been working as a blacksmith for 5 years, I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to be hardier, whatever. If I've been training in the circus for 5 years, I'm going to be more agile and quicker and more more, even maybe a little bit more charismatic, because I've learned all these cons and tricks and stuff. Bonuses to wisdom and intelligence, though, I mean, especially intelligence, that's the hard one. Wisdom, I could justify wisdom. The growth of your character has allowed them to become more aware of the world and thus more wise. When I started work as the blacksmith, I did not know, don't stick your finger in that. But after working as a blacksmith for 5 years, I have grown in my wisdom to know, don't stick your finger in that. But intelligence, working 5 years as a blacksmith, is that really going to make me smarter than I am now? I mean, education doesn't necessarily make you smarter. Book learning and intellect are two different things. You can know a lot of stuff. I mean, my sister, God love her, fucking brilliant. I mean, she's way smarter than I am, but her street smarts, I know people are complain about that, and I don't know why they chose to give it through skills, through your profession. I'm kind of okay with this, other than getting intelligence and wisdom bonuses, that sort of. But sure, I could justify it, I guess. The great thing is, if you look at the playtest for One DnD, and you don't, erase the fact that it's Dungeons and Dragons from your mind, and just say, here's a playtest rules for a D20 5e retro clone that I'm making. What do you think? They're not bad. I would look at them and go, okay, for your first draft of this 5e retro clone third-party product, this isn't bad. There's a few things I'd change, but knowing this is Dungeons and Dragons and knowing this is supposed to be backwards compatible with everything post-Tasha's, I'm looking at this and going, no. 1, it's not Dungeons and Dragons. 2, it's not backwards compatible. Once again, it's completely different. And in October, when they release the next draft, it's going to be more different. It is. So I don't know why they're just playing this joke on us. Critical successes have been completely changed. Yes, this is the big one. Dungeon Masters bad guys can't natural 20 anymore. The double damage thing is gone. Only player characters can double damage it, because they want player characters to be safe. So now the world is less dangerous because the monsters can't do double damage, only the player characters can. And other things have changed as well. And they've changed critical spells, critical sneak attacks, critical divine strikes, stuff like that. So it only doubles the actual weapon damage, doesn't double spells and sneak attack and stuff. So I know people are upset about that. I would be upset that my spells can't critical double anymore. I'm not upset as a DM by them saying, oh, my monsters can't do double damage anymore. Because I, in return, would say, great, then my monsters can do something else on natural 20. How about, let's take, for example, the undead. instead of doing 2d6 on a natural 20, because percentage-wise 2d6 and 1d6 is, I'm not going to do that much more damage-wise, but how about on a natural 20, my undead does its normal 1d6, but also does something that's specifically awful and undead-like. Like, I don't know, draining a level. Or as DM Bloodworth suggested, how about my bad guys in a natural 20 damage your armor? Sure, you don't do any damage, but you've lost a point of armor class because I ripped your shield out of your hand or rended your chainmail or whatever. I don't know. All in all, I would say this about the One DnD changes. Ignore them, because they're going to change everything again. If you were around when they playtested D&D Next like I was, we got the first draft of D&D Next, and most of us loved it. D&D Next was great. It definitely felt like a return to classic D&D, with the exception of advantage and disadvantage and the new rules on criticals, which nobody understood. We submitted the playtest material. We sent it to Wizards of the Coast. We waited. We got the second draft of D&D Next. It looked nothing like the first draft. It was completely different. And by the time we actually got the 5e Player's Handbook and looked at the printed official 5e rules, it was millions of miles away from the first draft. So all this hubbub about the One DnD first draft playtest is kind of pointless, because everything on the One DnD 15 pages, it's going to change. It's going to change dramatically, to the point where it's either going to be better or worse, but it'll definitely be different. By the time whatever this thing is comes out in 2014, it's going to look nothing like what we have in our hands right now. So I'm kind of like, it's sort of pointless to invest in any of this, because my experience has shown me Wizards is going to change it anyways. So there's really no reason to be all like, oh, you changed races, because you're probably going to change it again. Oh, criticals have changed. Crawford has already said they're going to change that. So yeah, at this point, until I see the final product and can complain about that, I don't really see any reason to be upset about these rules, because they're going to change. So these are sort of pointless. Who knows? Maybe what we have now might be better than the stuff we get in October / next year. I don't know. As I said before, if you didn't know this was D&D and we're just looking this as like a first draft for a third-party alternate take on 5e, be like, you know what? It's not bad. I like some of these ideas. I'm okay with this. The whole races not getting stat bonuses anymore instead of your job giving your stat bonuses. I kind of don't get that, but I see where you're going, and maybe we could fiddle with that. DMs don't get to double damage on natural 20s anymore. I'm fine with that. Let's change it to my bad guys now get a special trigger on a natural 20. I don't do 2d6. Instead, I get to do something equally awful. Hey, you didn't take any damage, but I can't move. But you didn't take any extra damage. Anyways, I don't know. What do you think about all this nonsense? In the end, we're giving Wizards of the Coast exactly what they want, because we're talking about it. And even if we're saying awful things about it, we're still drawing attention to it. And for every reasonable argument we have about it, there'll be some 5e lunatic out there who is, either complaining about the changes, how dare you make it so everybody can have sign language, or, saying the changes are great. Oh, finally, I see myself represented in the game because you made hippos a player character race. I never saw myself represented before until this came out, and except, of course, the hippos have been a player character race for years, as have elephants. Spelljammer was in second edition, right? It was a thing, right? You know that, right? It's not new. So you could have been hippo for years. So, yeah. But it's all going to change. And I don't know what I was talking about. Anyways, I'm the OGGM. What do you think? Let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It is my job to read this nonsense for you, try and take a logical look at what Wizards of the Coast is trying to do, make fun of the people that are insulting Wizards of the Coast for giving them exactly what they want, and ponder the question, by responding, are we actually doing what Wizards of the Coast wants? Are we giving Wizards of the Coast free press? They've rented space in our minds, and they're living in it. We can't deny that. Till next time, get off my Spelljammer.